It's 1 o'clock. We're going to get started. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's great to see so many participants joining from the waiting room and onto the Zoom call. First, before we get started in the fun of the Mews webinar, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge that the BCHA, British Columbia Hotel Association headquarters, is located on the unceded territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh Nations. Our team feels so thankful daily to work, play, and live on these lands. Thank you for joining us. My name is Shauna Lang. I'm the Director of Sales and Revenue for the BC Hotel Association. I'm excited to be your host here today. Today's webinar is sponsored by our friends at Ascent 360, and we're so happy to have Michael Stark, Director of Business Development, here today to tell us about it. Over to you, Michael.
Great. Thank you, Shauna. Yeah, my name is Michael Stark. I'm the Director of Business Development here at Ascent 360. I'm a lifelong hotelier. Been in the industry since I was 19 years old, started out at the front desk, worked my way through front office, general manager, director of sales and marketing, revenue, you name it, done it all, plunged a few toilets and spent plenty of time in spreadsheets. In my day, we did not have property management systems nearly as great as Mews, so I'm excited to be here with Tommy today. But since we're talking about boosting revenue throughout the whole guest journey, I want to just take a few minutes and a couple of slides to share a little bit about Ascent 360 and how we see that same concept as something we can provide assistance in helping you accomplish. In doing something like this, first you have to cover the basics. A customer data platform first works with your PMS to bring in all that data, cleanse and enrich your guest data. And I'll talk about enriching in a minute because that is a key factor, helping you to dynamically segment, target, and of course, measure ROI. But just like I think a lot of what Tommy's going to focus on today, it's really important that we have the ability to do so much more with various source subjects from website abandon and browse behaviors, retail, reservations, of course, but also food and beverage, loyalty, social, OTA retargeting, all kinds of different ways that you can bring in different touch points in interactions with your guests to really truly understand that journey. And then being able to leverage automation so that you can set it and let it, allowing small teams to do the work of big teams to make the complex simple for a really high impact. So that's the first slide here. We'll go to the second one if we could. Having a high fidelity view of that entire guest journey is what really gives the foundation of power to be able to accomplish these things. So starting with the PMS data coming out of Mews, of course, is super important, but also point of sale, food and beverage, activities, rentals, demographics coming from third-party systems, web browse data, and all that behavior is super important. Bringing that into a platform where you can now start to truly understand that guest journey allows you to then activate your marketing efforts through multiple channels to really accomplish a personalized, high fidelity view of the guest, to be precise and powerful in your communications with them, to then drive revenue in new ways. And then next slide, please. You know, I myself have played a role through the whole journey as an industry as we've really started to discover the need for like CRM and email marketing. But there's so much more that a customer data platform that can do for you than just what a CRM does. So in the first two gears here between hygiene and matching, this is really where a CRM starts to leave behind, or a CDP starts to leave behind a CRM. So you have Jenny, Jennifer, all these different guest profiles in your PMS is really truly one person. That's where a CRM or a CDP is going to bring in that data, hygiene it, cleanse it, dedupe it, and start to match it up. But this is where a customer data platform is really going to start to add some extra horsepower to your capabilities. We then start to optimize that data. Instead of the last name or the most recent name or the most commonly used name, we can start to identify the guest's best name, best email, etc. Enhancing that guest data is where it really gets super, super fun. So our platform will provide for you over 50 derived variables and some analytical aspects into your data, such as recency, frequency, and monetary. And then we can also begin to enhance this data with third-party data appends, understanding income, net worth, marital, life stage status, presence of children. This starts to give you a much higher fidelity view into who your guest is, how they behave, and how best to communicate with them in a personalized manner. And here in that last part, we see now with Jennifer, we have a complete golden record. Her recency score, her frequency score, her monetary score, lifetime spend, web browse behaviors, and household income. Having all these capabilities allows you to easily do the complex and small teams to do the work of big teams. And that's just a brief overview of Ascent 360. And I'm super excited to see what Tommy's going to share with us. We're big fans of Mews. We work with a lot of properties that use Mews, and I think it's one of the best systems out there.
Appreciate that.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much, Michael. Just a few housekeeping notes before I introduce Tommy. We will be using the Q&A functionality or the chat functionality for questions, and we do have some time reserved at the end for Q&A, so don't be shy. Okay, please allow me to introduce you to Tommy Kalita from Mews. He's been with Mews for over 2 years and was recently promoted to Senior Sales Manager. Congratulations, Tommy, from all of us. For over 15 years, Tommy's been involved in sales, management, entrepreneurship in a variety of industries, and has worked with a portfolio of hotels and boutique hotels and vacation rentals. I'll save more of the exciting stuff for Tommy, but please welcome me in introducing and having Tommy join us and to share how hotels can boost revenue throughout the guest journey. Over to you, Tommy.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, so hey everyone, my name is Tommy Kalita. I'm a senior sales manager at Mews. I'm really excited to be here. I have been incredibly happy about the partnership that we have had with BCHA for quite a few years. In fact, it was the first partnership since I started in Western Canada to really actually that we made. So as we were kind of expanding and as we were relatively new in the country, we've absolutely loved the partnership. And I wanted to actually briefly touch on a little bit from the last few slides as well, because many of you may have attended the BCHA Summit a few months ago, I guess. And you may recall Anna Baird and how she discussed how there is a ton of data silos. So I thought this actually was really relevant to what he was just mentioning in regards to the fact that there's no shortage of data in a hotel. Most hotels have plenty of data. The problem is they aren't necessarily getting the best insights out of it. So I thought that was actually really important to note that many of you likely have all sorts of interesting data, but you are not always kind of getting the most out of it. But without further ado, I want to actually get into what the purpose of the presentation is today, which is talking about how we're going to boost revenue throughout the guest journey. So just a bit more about myself. Back in 2017, I actually launched my own small boutique hotel in Edmonton. It was a labor of love. I really taught me a lot about the nuance of running a business. I sold it in 2023, but along the way, I really became impressed by Mews, and that's why I decided to join the team. Hospitality has always been about people. We know that it's about crafting experiences guests remember, but those experiences can also drive real revenue when we connect every stage of the journey from the first click to the final goodbye. So over the next half hour or so, I want to walk you through where that value hides and how technology can unlock it, and how to turn everyday operations into moments that genuinely move the needle. So everything you should do should really be circling back to the guest. When you create more value for them, it's not just convenience, but genuine experiences. Revenue is going to follow naturally. The goal today is going to be exploring how that looks across the full guest journey from discovery to post-stay. Now, every guest interaction before, during, and after the stay is an opportunity to build value and to drive revenue. The key is going to be connection, making each step feel part of one seamless experience. Now, technology enables that connection, but your strategy determines how meaningful it's actually going to feel. A strategy that suits your type of guests, type of hotel, and the market you operate in. So I'd like to start right at the top. I want to start with the pre-booking phase. So dynamic pricing is still one of the most underused tools in hospitality. It's no longer reserved for global brands. Smart automation now makes it accessible for independents too. The blockers are often habit, time, and legacy technology. But when you let data do the heavy lifting, you price smarter, you fill faster, and you stay ahead of demand. The truth is, most revenue managers already believe in dynamic pricing. They just don't always have time to act on it. Studies have shown that 51% of their week goes to manual, non-revenue tasks. Technology isn't just replacing their skill. It gives them the time back, the hours back to start thinking strategically instead of reactively. So that's where a revenue management system is going to come in. A modern RMS is going to use data and possibly AI to optimize pricing in real time, predicting trends and adjusting automatically. If it's one thing that you should remember from this slide, it's that only 28% of hotels are currently using an RMS and only 10% are using an intelligent one. In other words, it's truly competitive advantage, one that shouldn't be overlooked, that will be essential if you want to grow your market share and become more competitive. The early adopters are already gaining share because they're not reacting to the market, they're anticipating it. A perfect example is Atomize, now part of Mews. It predicts demand up to a year ahead, optimizes rates daily, and saves teams 20 to 30 hours per month. Hotels that are using it are seeing up to 20% higher RevPAR and 35% higher ADR, all through automation that works quietly in the background. So let's talk a little bit about a hotel that's using Atomize. It's a property in Old Quebec, and it's a great case in point. The GM used to spend 3 hours a week manually adjusting rates, and now it's only taking about 10 minutes. She told us she finally feels confident in her pricing, and she's focusing that saved time on guest experience and long-term strategy instead of all the spreadsheets. So I want to take a quick pulse check. Maybe we could actually just ask everyone here, how many of you are actually using some form of dynamic pricing? Feel free, we'll let you all choose.
Oh, I can't vote.
Okay, we'll just give it another moment, I think. Sean, are you able to pull the results?
I think
Yeah.
Gareth will be able to, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll end it now. Last chance for everyone. Okay.
Sorry, Gareth, I didn't introduce you there joining us as well. Gareth, thank you so much.
That's all right. I'm the invisible hand in the back here.
All right, so we're seeing that it looks like it's pretty evenly split across everyone. So we're seeing roughly, some are using some form of automated dynamic pricing, some are using a little bit, but they're still adjusting rates manually based on demand. And a bit of a smaller share are saying not yet, but they're exploring it. And I'm not sure it's handled by another team or colleagues. So really interesting stuff. Okay. So now that we've covered pricing, let's move into the next phase of the guest journey, the post-booking upsells. This is a crucial window where hotels can really start influencing spend and experience, yet I'm going to say hands down, it's probably the most overlooked. Guests have booked, they're excited, they're emotionally invested, and this is the perfect time to deepen engagement and start driving incremental revenue before they arrive. It actually astounds me a little bit when I see how often we have hotels that have so many great things on offer that the guest is just frankly not seeing, sometimes due to overworked staff or just not having the right training. It's a huge opportunity to drive revenue beyond just the baseline. So when a guest books, they're full of anticipation. And yet most hotels are going completely quiet at this stage. This is your opportunity. You can personalize upgrades that fit the reason for their travel. You can find upsell opportunities like parking or breakfast, maybe it's spa access. You can reassure and excite them with any kind of useful pre-arrival communication. And just to kind of give you a bit of an example, when I ran my property, this was really where I made a huge chunk of my revenue. And I bring the example up, as I'm sure everyone here is aware. We had COVID quite a few years ago, and for me, I had a fairly young hotel, and as you can imagine, my guests started canceling en masse, and my daily rates absolutely plummeted. It would have been an absolute wreck if it wasn't for the fact that I started to look into ancillary revenue and ways to find meaningful upsells for those guests. So one of the things that we did is we really took pride in showing off our city. We had a great coffee program, and we partnered with a local roaster to offer guests a bag of coffee waiting in their room. It wasn't a hard sell. It was just a thoughtful extra that they could take home with them if they chose to. The benefit was it was an incredibly high margin item. It was easy to sell. It was something that was selling just every time they took a sip of the coffee. And it was a great keepsake for them to bring something home with them after their trip. So engagement here doesn't just raise spend. It's also setting a tone for the stay and build loyalty before they even check in. So to see how it actually plays out in the real world, let's look at Luni Apart Hotel in Quebec City. Luni welcomes business travelers, students, and long-stay guests, a mix that demands flexibility and smart automation behind the scenes. But the real growth came from how they engage guests after booking. They were using our booking engine and automated post-booking flows. Nearly 40% of all bookings are now coming direct, and 61% of the guests are purchasing parking online before the arrival. They also layered in targeting upsells for early check-in, extended stays, and coffee shop packages. Small, low-touch offers that feel personal rather than promotional. And the result is a 69% increase in RevPAR year over year, stronger guest satisfaction, and a team that's able to focus on the experience rather than the manual follow-up. This is what the post-booking phase should really be: personal, proactive, and especially profitable. So continuing with another Canadian example, let's look at GlampSource. It's a sustainable glamping destination that turned upsells into an art form. They catered to a mix of leisure travelers and outdoor enthusiasts, offering everything from luxury tents to cabins and pods. But the real magic lies in how they sell beyond the stay. GlampSource is adding around $40 in upsells per booking, with 1 in 5 guests upgrading directly through the booking flow. Their most popular add-ons are pet fees, prepaid taxis, and parking. They're practical, they're relevant, they're easy to purchase in a single click, and a really low bar to still really help drive revenue. So we've covered a little bit about dynamic pricing and post-booking upsells, but the next stop is talking about more bookable services. So the idea here is quite simple. Grow revenue by widening what the guest can buy, not just raising the price of what they already buy. So you want to start thinking about spaces, time blocks, and moments that fit different guest needs. Most properties were built around a single product, the room night. But the truth is, the modern guest doesn't just want a room anymore. They want flexibility, they want convenience, and they want to be able to have choice. The challenge is that many hotels still treat anything outside the room as an operational afterthought. So the opportunity here is to start rethinking your footprint as a multi-purpose environment rather than a fixed use space. Every square meter can create value when you start to reimagine it. Empty lobbies can become flexible co-working or event zones. Meeting rooms can double as day offices or creative studios. Gyms, parking, or spa areas can offer memberships or day use passes. Even bikes or gear can become rentable assets. The key here is really looking at agility, pricing by the hour, the day, or the occasion. I always like to bring up the example of the server rooms or sometimes the telephone rooms of a lot of hotels. There's often some dusty corners of many properties that are just sitting underutilized. I was in Canmore recently at Mountain House. They converted a small under the stairs like closet really into a photo booth that really promoted what they did. They made it easy for people to share directly on social media. And it cost them very little, and they were using a space that was otherwise not being used at all. I always encourage hotels to start taking a look at those dusty corners because there generally is an area that you can repurpose to something more meaningful. It's just a matter of actually looking at it in a different light. So when you start treating your property like an ecosystem rather than a floor plan, you're going to start generating revenue that isn't bound to check-in or check-out times. We want you to start looking at total revenue, not just the revenue per available room. So by expanding your services and monetizing underused spaces and introducing new bookable time units, hotels can actually start to unlock enormous amounts of untapped revenues. A study by Spring Partners found that the industry is currently only realizing about half its total revenue potential, with roughly 72 billion sitting on the table through day use bedrooms alone. Now, this is something I always like to mention. If you have travelers that are maybe coming through, if you're close to an airport, something along those lines, it's a great opportunity to be able to think about the space, the room for 24 hours, not just the overnight stay. There's a great opportunity. Like I was just traveling, for example, I had to spend a bit of a layover in Rome, and having a place that I could just go, freshen up, maybe take a nap before my next flight is a huge opportunity that I think a lot of hotels can start to think about. The big idea here isn't about building more. It's about rethinking what is already there. Hotels are no longer just building with a set of rooms. They're living ecosystems with experiences. So when we start viewing properties this way, every hour and every space becomes an opportunity to engage guests and grow revenue. So speaking of which, let's talk about how hotels can interact with the guests throughout their entire day. So most hotels are thinking about the 9 hours a guest sleeps. The most successful ones are thinking about the 24 hours that they live. Every hotel is a potential touch point. From morning workouts to evening entertainment, from co-working to community events, owning more of the day means you're not just providing a place to stay, you're curating an experience that extends far beyond the room key. Think about it this way. The difference between a 1-star and a 5-star hotel isn't just facilities. It's how they fill the guest time. Imagine if you're finishing dinner and asking the waiter for a karaoke recommendation. And not only do they suggest 3 nearby spots, they mention a cafe perfect for tomorrow's morning work session. It's not just good service, it's holistic hospitality. The properties that win tomorrow will be the ones that recognize they are not just selling rooms. They're managing time, attention, and they're managing connection. So this shift is really starting to redefine what it means to be a host. Great hotels no longer stop at checkout. They embed themselves into the guest routine, becoming a trusted guide for local culture, dining, and connection. So whether it's your team making a recommendation, your app surfacing local experiences, or your website curating itineraries, the goal is the same. Be a brand guests trust to navigate their day. Every small, thoughtful suggestion, a great cafe, a nearby run, a late checkout, compound into loyalty that no OTA can buy. And I bring this up because I travel extensively throughout the year. I stay at all sorts of hotels. And one of the things that really has floored me is the quality of my experience rarely aligns with the number of stars that property is getting. Very often, the best experience are related to staff that are just doing that little bit extra. In fact, one of the things I like to mention is that oftentimes the best reviews come after a mistake was made at a hotel and there's a recovery there. Something to think about is how you can start spotting these opportunities to really delight and exceed the guest expectations, not just when something goes wrong, but just throughout their stay. So I want to pause just for a moment and think about the idea of owning the day. So beyond sleep and breakfast, what are the biggest ways in which you serve your guests today? Maybe what we'll do, I think Gareth will open up, if you want to put some notes into the chat bot, it'd be great to know. Yeah, here we go. Perfect. All right, and we can start, maybe start wrapping up, just give a few more moments. Okay, so let's take a look at this. So how beyond sleep and breakfast, how are you engaging your guests throughout the day? So we're seeing slight majority is coming through as saying on-site experiences like spa, fitness, events, and local tours. We're seeing that F&B and digital engagement are ways that quite a few properties are also doing. And then partnerships with local attractions is also coming out as a strong one, especially in BC, and actually even just touching on a bit earlier with Shauna talking about Indigenous tourism and things like that. I think this is such an opportunity for groups to really look at everyone around them, everyone that they could potentially partner with, and look at ways of not just helping with their property, but also really highlighting the great businesses around them. People are looking for those local experiences, and it looks like a lot of you are already seeing that there's some value there. Awesome. Okay. So as we think about the future, one principle is going to remain timeless. High touch hospitality is always going to win. For Mews, high touch hospitality has a very specific meaning because our entire philosophy is about using automation and smart technology to give hotel teams back time to focus on people, not just admin. It goes through in every step of the guest journey. Guests crave recognition and relevance, not necessarily just more amenities, but more meaning. Studies are showing that nearly half of travelers are willing to share personal data for personalization, and 73% of millennials are actively seeking authentic local experiences. The trick isn't going to be more staff. It's giving the teams the time and the tools to be present. Because genuine connection is not going to be automated, but it can be amplified. I like to bring the example of State Pineapple, one of our customers, who has really focused on ensuring that their team is showing up as authentic as humanly possible. And their president, Dina Bellin, has talked about how sometimes it can even be a bit of a shock when someone says, yo, or something like that as they're showing up into the property. It's not necessarily the way that she would be going and introducing it, but it's something that they have been keeping alive in their brand, because that is what is giving these guests an authentic experience. Everyone feels like they are connecting in a meaningful way. It's not just superficial, and it allows real connection. And then you can take those details and just take just listening to what those guests are looking for and turn that into true loyalty. So in a world of algorithmic recommendations and smart everything, personalization isn't just a bonus, it's expected. From the moment a guest books them to the moment that they check out, each interaction should feel intentional. The most successful properties aren't using data to replace empathy. They're using it to spot the right moments for it. And the difference shows up in repeat bookings, reviews, and referrals, all signals that hospitality still means something human. At Mews, we're always going to be focusing on the guest, not the room. And that means turning data into genuine delight. Every interaction contributes to a data-rich guest profile that pulls together reservations, payments, F&B spend, and stay history into one unified view. Behind the scenes, Match and Merge is keeping those profiles clean, identifying duplicates so teams can see the guests in a single complete person. Then there's Smart Tips powered by AI, surfacing what matters most, whether that's someone's a VIP, part of your loyalty program, or allergic to shellfish. It's turning this information into action before the guest even arrives. And soon, AI agents are going to take it even further. Imagine simply prompting, create an agent that flags VIP members and pre-assigned suites when available. That's data working for you and not the other way around. Now imagine that same intelligence across your entire portfolio. When guest profiles are shared between properties, recognition follows them wherever they go. A favorite room, a late checkout, even a saved payment method, it all starts traveling seamlessly. For the guest, it feels like continuity, but for your team, it's fewer admin steps and one shared understanding of every loyal traveler. I'm sure everyone here can attest to the number of times they've been asked for the same credit card from the same brand every time they show up. It is something that adds a deep level of connection when those little details are taken care of the moment that you show up. So it's the foundation of connected hospitality. It's a brand that remembers wherever the guest is staying. So one of my favorite examples of this balance is the Annex Hotel in Toronto. Many of you that maybe came to the summit a few months ago may recall that he and I did a presentation on the main stage. This is something that I think that he is a great example of a Canadian success story that is now expanding beyond just the original location in Toronto. It's a small design-forward property that's intentionally light on formality, but it's heavy on the connection. There's no traditional front desk, there's no room phones, and almost no paper in sight. But there is an incredible sense of belonging. Guests handle the essentials right from their phones: mobile check-in, keyless entry, payments, and curated local recommendations. It's giving them independence and it's giving them speed. What's interesting is what the team does with that saved time. Instead of printing forms or chasing folios, they're chatting with the guests in the lobby bar, they're suggesting neighborhood spots, or they're connecting with people who are in town for the same event. Annex isn't trying to replicate old school service. They're trying to redefine it. They've turned technology into a quiet backdrop that supports genuine hospitality, and it's showing. They're now Toronto's highest rated boutique hotel on Google, proof that when tech fades into the background, human connection is taking center stage. So this is where technology steps in. The right systems should not add friction. They really should be removing it. Intelligent, intuitive, and so automated that they're almost invisible. Your staff should be able to get up from the front desk and take their PMS or whatever platform they're using with them on a tablet or a phone. They should be free from repetitive manual tasks that consume their time so that they can relax and engage in meaningful conversations with the guests. They should be receiving AI-driven insights about guest preferences and needs, allowing them to personalize each stay in real time. And your technology should be smart enough to recognize when a guest is coming back for the second, third, or even the 100th time. So the greeting isn't, have you stayed with us before? But rather, welcome back, Mrs. James. We placed your favorite red wine in the room. That's how you transform good service into unforgettable hospitality. How you turn data into delight and happy guests into loyal customers. So as we think about the balance between automation and human touch, you want to ask yourself, do you feel your current tools are freeing your team or holding them back? And what does high touch hospitality look like for you? And where's the line between high touch and low touch on your property? If there's one takeaway today, it's this. Technology isn't here to replace hospitality. It's amplifying it. The properties leading the way aren't just optimizing rates, they're reimagining relationships, from dynamic pricing to smarter upsells to 24-hour engagement and true personalization. The hotels that win are the ones that are going to connect every part of the guest journey into one seamless experience. The future of hospitality isn't about being more digital. It's about being more human, powered by the right tools and the right mindset. So I appreciate you all spending some time of your day with me today. I would love to keep the conversation going. And so if it makes sense, we'd love to open it up to any questions, dialogue, and any comments from everyone here.
Great. Thank you, Tommy. And thank you so much for that presentation. I love the tools and the access to AI and the data and digital space, but remembering how important people still are. Yay. That's great. Thank you for that. We do have a few questions, so I can start the ball rolling with the ones that we've been asked and then ask everyone to continue. One question is, have you seen stronger engagement from leisure or business travelers when offering curated on-site experiences?
Yeah, so I mean, from my perspective, I think the importance is that you can basically curate different levels of kind of upsells, enhancements, and personalization depending on who it is that's actually staying with you. And so the idea is not offering chocolate dipped strawberries to your business guests, and also maybe focusing on things like early check-in or something like that. You can really start to personalize based on the segmentation of that guest. And so the more you know about that guest, the easier of a time you're going to have in being able to actually present something to them that is going to be meaningful to them. I think actually even on your side, Michael, it's something that maybe you could weigh in on as well, but it's when we actually have a deeper understanding of the guest in front of us, when it's not just superficial, when you don't have to dig for that guest information, you're going to be able to really start offering the correct type of upsell at the right time, not just kind of going for the spaghetti at the wall type of strategy.
Yeah, and that's a great point, Tommy, because even more so than just a leisure versus a business traveler, it's understanding that guest at a much deeper level in what they eat, what they drink, where they sleep, what they browse. All of those additional data insights are really, we call them data insights, but really it's just understanding the person that you're talking to.
Mm-hmm.
Great. We do have another question. From some of your experiences, what sort of local partnerships have been most effective in extending guest engagement?
Oh, really good question. So this is an area that I am particularly passionate about. There is something that I think every hotel can do in that they are really, you have a bunch of people coming through, whether it is a business, a leisure traveler, whoever it might be. People often don't know much about the place that they are staying. They might, but they might not. Hotels have such an amazing opportunity to curate experiences and really show the best part of a city. I'm from Edmonton. It's a secondary city. It is certainly not as much of a tourist destination as some other places, but I'm still immensely proud of the city that I'm from. And it's something that I think we have great businesses that I like to highlight, whether people are staying at my property or if it was something where it's just, my friends coming through town and it's something that I want to show them. So from my standpoint, I think one of the things that all hotels can look at is start having conversations with the different groups on the block. You might have a bike rental shop nearby. You might have a coffee shop. You might have a cafe. And especially if you don't have maybe all of the services that maybe some other properties do, have conversations with the businesses nearby. Can you offer a breakfast credit to the cafe next door for your guests that are staying? Can you negotiate something with them that's maybe a win-win situation? Can you look at different things, like maybe there's like an e-bike rental shop, or maybe there is a like a coffee shop, like I said, who are willing to partner with you. You can really take this as far as you want it. If you are in a destination that has walking tours, if you have any kind of like lift tickets or anything like that, these are all businesses that are looking to drive more guests to come through. And so partnering with them, having the conversations is the best first step you can take. One of the best things I think everyone in this room can do is spend a moment, pull up Google Maps, take a look at what is actually around you, and have conversations. Every business is looking for ways to expand their revenue, and partnerships are generally low-hanging fruit. It won't work with everyone, but generally you will find some that are very open and engaged in expanding that.
Great. Thank you. We have another question here. Thank you, Tommy. Good to know more about Mews. Any prompt or tip that software gives you for energy savings or sustainability?
Yeah, great question. Well, there's a few different things I'd like to point out here. So within Mews, one of the things that we do is we certainly help with sustainability by getting rid of, you can have digital registration cards. So that's kind of a nice way to just avoid that stack of paper. We worked with one group recently that had effectively like a pallet of paper coming in every month that they were saving by going with digital cards. But even on a smaller scale, I think it's really meaningful. There are some really, really interesting tools that are out there that are not always connected to the PMS. Sometimes they are, but you can start paying attention to energy usage. You can start paying attention to what is actually happening on property. There's occupancy sensors that you can get in your thermostats. There's even groups out there that are able to track, like if a window is left open, so you can kind of flag if maybe the AC is running unnecessarily. We know that, it'd be great if everyone has brand new boilers and brand new AC units that are high efficiency, but we know the reality is a lot of these properties don't. So one of the things that I encourage everyone to look at is, what is the actual cost that you're paying here? And there are some great technologies out there that can help with that. And that can either be in the form of devices that are in the room. I was just at the AHLA conference yesterday, and there was, I wish I remembered the exact name of their business, but they basically could attach to a panel and tell you where your electricity was going and if it was, if it was kind of being wasted. So especially with commercial kitchens, things like that, it can start getting really meaningful. But I think the important thing is that the technology now exists and it is obtainable. So it's certainly something to review what's out there and see. The one I will give you is maybe Herto in Vancouver. They have the environmental controls in the rooms that you can consider as well. So it's a BC business that is also kind of offering that.
Well, I love that question. It made me think of the case study you mentioned on the annex. I mean, that hotel, I love it. I have such an aversion to paper. It's such a waste. And I think that's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree. Anyone else want to use the Q&A box or chat to ask questions?
It's your opportunity to ask all the tough questions.
Yeah, exactly. You're doing great. So maybe they need to hit you harder there. All good. Well, great. If there are no other questions, Tommy left his contact information. There's Michael's contact information as well. Some great information, a great alignment and partnership between Mews and Ascent 360, which is fabulous. And of course, as the BC Hotel Association, appreciate both of your support and ongoing relationship, as it makes our job that much easier and more importantly, our hotels. So thank you, and have yourselves a fabulous day.
Thank you. Hope to see you all in a face-to-face event here pretty soon.
Thanks again.
Thank you.